What's up, Hofstra fans? Welcome to this episode of Sports Beat. I'm your host, Danny DeCrescenzo. We've got a great episode for you tonight. The Hofstra volleyball team is nearing the end of their season, while the NBA and NFL are in full swing. Our very own David Lazar, who is here with us tonight, met with Ultimate Frisbee captain Aiden Henry to learn some rules of the game and even tried it out himself. And FaceTimes are back. Stay tuned to hear us talk about the Lakers, the NHL, and college football. So don't go anywhere, Hofstra fans, because Sports Beat starts right now. I'm joined here with my panelists, David Lazar and Andres Santiago. Let's get started with the Hofstra volleyball team, which is nearing the end of their season. And to close it out, they have a tough set this weekend against JMU. The Dukes are 16-6 overall and 10-4 in conference play, a very formidable opponent. What will it take for Hofstra to get 2 wins this weekend?
For me, it's an off-the-court storyline. JMU is dealing with a conference drama where their teams are not going to be able to play in CAA tournaments because they just announced a move to the Sun Belt Conference. JMU is going to be angry. They're going to be disappointed. And I think if Hofstra can contain that and get off to a hot start, they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, to me, Hofstra just needs to cut back on the errors. You know, they're averaging about 23 errors per game. JMU doesn't really commit those errors. Hofstra really needs to keep the ball on the court, make sure they get it over the net. Be aware of that JMU hitting. They're one of the best teams in the CAA when it comes to hitting percentage and getting kills. So you really want to try and limit that, limit your errors, and you put yourself in a good position to win this game.
Now let's turn our attention to the Pride. They're as close to 500 as it gets. They're 13-12 overall and 7-7 in conference play. What has been the reason behind this inconsistency this season?
It's players not playing up to their full potential. Hofstra has a great volleyball team. Emily Mansour has a great program. But sometimes players go out and they don't play to the best of their ability. I think if the Pride can really use their full team effort and not just rely on the freshmen, they'll be in good shape. The Pride can't expect contributions from their freshmen. They need it to be an added bonus. And if that's the case, the Pride can really make a run in the CAA tournament.
Yeah, I think they've just really struggled keeping themselves in games. When they get down early, they really struggle to come back, keep up the tempo. When 8 of their 12 losses have come as 0-3 sweeps. They haven't won a single set in those games. But when they're able to keep themselves in the game, go the distance, and get to 5 sets, they're 4-1. They're almost unmatched. They're really hard to stop when they get down the stretch, but they just need to keep their heads up and keep themselves in the game.
Now, one upperclassman who has been playing well is grad student Anna Martinovic. She leads the team in kills with 280, which is almost 100 more than the second place number on this team. Where does she rank in the CAA for you? Because obviously for Hofstra, she's a menace on the court.
Well, let's start with last year. Last year, she was named to the All-CAA second team. So judging by that, she's one of the best players in the conference. And this year, she has a lot of kills, and she's playing great volleyball. I have to say she's a top 10 player in the conference because she's a leader on and off the court.
Yeah, she really is top 10. I think she can creep in the top 5. She's 5th in kills, 5th in total points. She's looked amazing. She's been great to deliver points for Hofstra. And the thing with me that's keeping her just out of the top 5 is her hitting percentage. It's sitting at around 173. She's really struggling sometimes to make sure she keeps the ball in play and get those kills. She gets that percentage up, she could be a total beast, be in the top 5.
Now, David, you mentioned the freshman, and one of the freshmen on this team who's made an instant impact is Beatriz Alvarez. She's a freshman setter, and her varied game has really turned some heads this season. What impresses you most about her volleyball ability?
It's her transition to the Hofstra program because she came from Brazil, and now she's in Hempstead. And I think with her, she is playing such a good system game. She's getting assists. She's playing as a team. She's helping her squad out. And I think if she can continue to do that, really it will help the team in all areas because she's a freshman. The team doesn't need her skills right now, but over the years she's proven that they really do. So I'm really happy with how she's played, and I'm sure that head coach Emily Mansour is too.
Yeah, she's really showing how she's been a top player in Brazil, and she's really transitioning her game over to Hofstra. I think one of the things I've noticed watching her is her setting, her back setting. She's been so good at keeping the ball high in the air, giving her hitters plenty of time to find the ball, locate it, and deliver quick and easy kills. And another thing she's been really great at is setting. She is top 10 in aces in the CAA. She also is top 5 in assists, and that's just amazing for a freshman to be able to do.
Yeah, that assist number really caught my eye, and I think she's a bright spot for this program for years to come. Now, moving on to frisbee, David, you met with Aiden from Ultimate last week. What was that experience like?
It was so fun. I've never realized just how much goes into that sport. It's not just tossing a disc, it's a full team effort. And I almost ran into a statue. So, let's take a look.
Hey Sports Beat, my name is David Lazar and I am here with Hofstra Club Ultimate Frisbee co-captain, Aiden Henry. Aiden, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, could you tell us a little bit about the history of the program?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a kind of a long history. We've been around for 12 or 13 years or so. We compete in the Division I Metro East Conference against, big schools like Rutgers, Stony Brook. We play a lot of the Ivy Leagues, Princeton, Columbia, Yale. We're kind of going up against some giants, and it does feel a little bit like David versus Goliath at some points, but we're hoping to build kind of a team here that can be super competitive for years going forward. So.
And what's your favorite part about being a part of the program?
It's just a super fun program. We're all super good friends on the team, and I think part of the benefit of Ultimate as a sport is there's a lot of camaraderie between teams, especially in our conference. We're a pretty tight-knit conference, and throughout the years you kind of build friendships with folks on other teams that you play against. Long Island specifically has a really cool Ultimate culture. Everyone knows each other, so that makes for some really awesome friendships kind of as you develop your game here.
I know it's a big season coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. How are you guys doing this year?
We're doing all right. We're working really hard. We have a lot of progress to be made, but we're having a lot of fun. It's like I said, sometimes we go up against these big schools and it's really tough. These games are not always where we want them to be, but we had our sectionals playoffs recently. They went very well. We played some really tight games, some really close games against some opponents that have some really long storied histories of success. So just kind of some fire for the spring because we have more sections playoffs in the spring and we're hoping to win and hopefully go to regionals. So.
And why has some of this competition and adversity been good for your team, especially the freshmen who are just joining?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a team it's something we can use as motivation. Losing games isn't fun, but it's something you can always use as a learning experience. I think for the freshmen, what's super cool is this sectionals playoffs for many of them was their first tournament experience in Ultimate, which I'm jealous of because it was about the most intense experience you could have at a tournament. Like, shout out to them because they really took that challenge and played like really well. So it was a super fun experience. Kind of like I said, we got to use these losses as some fire for us in the spring. But yeah, I mean I think the rookies are just it's super fun this year. Out of COVID now we can play and it just feels really good to be able to play outside. So
that's awesome to hear. And now what would be even more awesome is if you could teach me some of your skills. So could we head to the field and show me some of the moves?
Absolutely.
Joining Aiden and I is team member Evan Bernstein. Evan, welcome.
Thank you.
So now what we're going to do is we are going to go over some of the basic throws of Ultimate.
There are two basic grips in Ultimate Frisbee. So there's a backhand and there's a forehand. The forehand we call a flick, but I'll kind of explain that in a bit. So on the backhand, I'm a lefty, you're a righty.
I'm a righty.
So pretend we're in a mirror. But I'm going to use my right leg as my pivot foot, or my right foot as my pivot foot. You would use your left foot as your pivot foot. I'm going to step across my body. I'm going to drop my hips a bit and then turn lightly and then use my wrist to guide my motion. So if I'm trying to hit this person right here, I'm stepping across, finishing right there. Now a flick is kind of a similar motion, except you're stepping back and you're stepping forward, or you're stepping out. So you're using this leg, instead of using it to step across your body, you're using it to open up your body. So if I'm trying to throw it to the same place, I'm going to step behind, step here, step forward, and I'm dropping my elbow, and I want my elbow to be flush with their chest. So if I'm throwing my flick, I'm going in, dropping my elbow, finishing right here, and I still want my hand to be there. Kind of like if you're throwing a baseball and you're finishing your trajectory where you want it to end up. So if I'm trying to hit it, finishing, and I want my hand there. Now I'll show you the actual grip of the flick. So on your backhand, you want all your fingers under the disc. You want your index finger kind of guiding, and you can use this as a stabilizing kind of piece. And you want your thumb on top of the frisbee. Now on your flick, you're going to take 2 of your fingers, and the closer the better. I like to have them a little bit separate because my hands aren't super big. And then you have your 2 fingers on the outside. Your thumb is still on top, but you're holding it like you're holding a dinner plate. If I'm handing you. So I'm dropping in, finishing right there. Now I think you should try it.
Perfect. All right, so on the backhand,
Yep.
this is good form.
Yeah, and you can even drop this in. Yep.
Perfect. All right, so mirror. So left foot's my pivot, and
Yep.
I'll
You're
give it a go.
stepping across your body and finishing right there. Yep.
Perfect.
Nice.
All right, there we go.
Looks good.
And
That's
now
all flick.
the tough one,
The
the
tough
flick. All right. So same left pivot foot, and then I'm gonna flick it.
Yep, and you're stepping out. You're opening up your body to the throw.
All right, like this.
Yep. Well, so you're gonna want to finish in like this.
Lovely.
Want these fingers touch to the rim of the wrist.
All right, perfect. All right, a little wobbly, but it looks
A
good.
little wobbly, yeah, it does look good.
All right. Well, thanks so much for teaching me.
Yeah, of course. One more thing though. I think you should go for a deep cut.
A deep cut.
Just start running.
Thanks, David and Aiden. Now let's move on to my favorite topic to discuss on SportsBeat, the NBA. So, guys, this year's rookie class has been phenomenal. We thought last year's rookie class was good. This year has seen some great freshman players. Which one of them impresses you the most?
How can it not be Evan Mobley? He comes from USC, and he is taking the Cleveland Cavaliers by storm. He is a big guy. He's a big center, but he can defend the wing. He's an athletic player, and he's averaging 14 points and 8 rebounds a game. But he's a fit on that team, too. They have some big players. They have Jared Allen, and I think with Jared Allen, it actually works. And if he can play like he's playing, who knows where the Cleveland Cavaliers can go? Because right now, the possibility is endless.
Yeah, Evan Mobley's been amazing. And another guy I want to talk about is Chris Duarte for the Pacers. Now, he was a late lottery selection, around 13, and people didn't really want him coming out of college because he was an older guy. A lot of people don't like taking those older prospects out of college. They like the younger guys, help them develop more. But Chris Duarte's been amazing. He's averaging 16 points per game. He's shooting at around 45% from the field. And he really took over the NBA with his first game when he put up 27 for the Pacers in his first ever NBA game. So I think he's just been amazing, and he's been a consistent good scoring punch for the Pacers.
Definitely can't go wrong with either of those guys. My personal favorite is Jalen Green. He's a very complete offensive player. You saw it in the G League, and now it's showing in the NBA. But one thing that is concerning for stat heads worldwide, scoring has cratered to start the year. And I'm just going to read these numbers, guys. They are ghastly. Shooting efficiency is down almost 3 whole percentage points, and offensive rating is down 6 points per 100 possessions. Do these trends worry you?
Not only do they not worry me, they excite me. That may sound weird, but here's why I believe that. Right now, basketball is an individual sport. It's a star-run league. But if efficiency's down, if it's a more defensive style of play, we'll see more team basketball. No longer will you need a star. You'll see more teams like the Knicks where it's based on depth. Sure, there's new balls. Sure, the fouling is down and referees are swallowing their whistles. But at the end of the day, if offense is down, that means defense is up.
Yeah, the defense was playing a big factor, and you're seeing a lot of scorers struggle, such as James Harden and other players, because they're not getting the fouls called that they're used to. They're not being able to jump into people and get those calls. Now the NBA is really cracking down on that, and I think also with the transition of the new ball, I think it's just taking them some time to get more accustomed to it, get accustomed from the change to Spalding to Wilson, and that's kind of taking a part of the scoring dip as well.
Now, another area of the league where some struggling is happening is with two teams that have been in the league probably for the longest, the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. The C's are 11th in the East, and the Lakers are 8th. And obviously with the Lakers, there's been some injuries and Russell Westbrook's growing pains. And for the Celtics, Marcus Smart highlighted some key locker room drama. Of those two squads, which one should be panicking more?
It's about expectations for me. For me, the Celtics are playing bad basketball and the Lakers are playing bad basketball. Both teams are struggling. But the Lakers were expected to win the championship. The Lakers came in with expectations to compete with the Nets for the NBA title. The Celtics were supposed to be a good basketball team. They were going to be one of the tops in the East, and I think no one really expected them to go all the way, however. So the Lakers have to be the answer because Russell Westbrook is not playing well. His stats are good, 18, 8, and 8, but his efficiency is not. And all in all, the veterans aren't meshing. So both teams are struggling. You can't really argue who's struggling more. They're both struggling. But the Lakers had higher expectations, and that's why I'm more concerned about them.
Yeah, the Celtics also struggling. You highlighted the locker room issues. Marcus Smart came out, called out Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown because teams know they're getting the ball down the stretch. They know they're the guys taking the shot, but they're not passing it. And I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum need to be accustomed to playmaking more, and that's something Coach Ime Udoka really highlighted. But I agree, the Lakers have to be the answer. Russell Westbrook just came in. He was not the guy they wanted him to be. He struggled when it's come to close games. You know, they blew 26 and 19-point leads to the Thunder, and those are the Thunder's only 2 wins. They haven't beaten any other team. Russell Westbrook just hasn't been the guy they really wanted. Anthony Davis and LeBron have been hurt, and it just hasn't been going well for them.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm panicking, sneak peek to my FaceTime, by the way, but I do have to agree the Lakers came in with much greater expectations, and as such, their struggles are a little more under the microscope. But, guys, let me read you the stat line really quick. Per game, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 46% from the floor, 36% from 3 on 8 attempts. That's Paul George, Pandemic P. And he is leading the Clippers on a 5-game win streak right now in the absence of Kawhi Leonard. Where does Paul George, after everything he's been through these last couple seasons, rank in your NBA hierarchy?
The struggles of Paul George were always overrated because while he struggled offensively, he excelled defensively. I thought he was a top player on the Pacers. I think he's a top player now. For me, he's one of the top 10 players in basketball.
Yeah, he's really been amazing, and I think just the absence of Kawhi Leonard has really helped out, and he's really getting a lot more volume and shooting. So I think he's really a top 10, top 15 player.
And while I've never been a believer in him, he is creeping into that top 10 conversations for me. But now let's turn our attention to the NFL side of things. And our first point of discussion, gentlemen, is Patrick Mahomes, who looks surprisingly mortal for the first time in his entire career. Yes, the talent may still be there, but in terms of his production, you can't say he's head and shoulders above everyone else. With that being said, has somebody in the league taken the mantle of best quarterback in the game from him? And if so, who is it?
No. Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in football. He's struggled, but he still has his confidence. He's still throwing those sidearm tosses. He's still taking deep shots, and I love how he plays the game. He's human. It's a game of tape. Football teams are starting to catch up to him. Those are problems, and you could argue that that would make him not the best quarterback in football anymore, and he certainly hasn't been the best football and quarterback this season, but most talented, best quarterback all around, the answer for me is still Patrick Mahomes.
I got to agree, he's the most talented guy. But in terms of best quarterback so far this season, I just don't think it can be him. And the guy for me is Matthew Stafford, a guy a lot of people didn't like to talk about in Detroit. Detroit, struggling franchise. But since the second he came to the Rams, they're talking, oh, title contender. Now they got Von Miller, and that defense is amazing. And Matthew Stafford has brought that offense to a whole new level that Jared Goff couldn't bring them to. And he's been amazing. 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, leading the league in passing yards and bringing the Rams to a 7-2 record at this point in the season. He's been the best quarterback for me.
Now, moving our attention from a quarterback to a wide receiver is Odell Beckham Jr., now a free agent. His time with Cleveland is over. His top destination is Green Bay, and Green Bay actually recently offered him today, the veterans minimum. Is that the best fit for him, or if not, where? Where's his best fit?
There are countless teams that would be a great fit for one of the game's most talented wide receivers. The Giants could always use a reunion. They've had wide receiver troubles this season. The Raiders need a wide receiver after they had a tragic situation with Henry Ruggs. The Saints could use one after Michael Thomas went down with an injury. But the best fit, as you said, the Packers. Because imagine Odell Beckham Jr. alongside Davante Adams. That is scary for opposing cornerbacks. And if that happens, Aaron Rodgers will be a happy camper.
Yeah, Green Bay is really the best situation for him. But you see other teams, he came out, he said his top 3 teams were the Chiefs, Green Bay, and New Orleans. And out of those 3 teams, I think Kansas City's intriguing. You know, he could really help bring Patrick Mahomes back to that MVP level, back to that Super Bowl champion level, help him really boost the season. But I still think it's Green Bay. You know, him aside from Davante Adams, that's just awful. And I don't know how opposing defenses could compete with that. And when you got Aaron Rodgers throwing them the ball, that just makes it so much better.
I got goosebumps when you're talking about Adams and Beckham Jr. next to each other in that slot. But guys, this coming week of games after last week, which was really an any given Sunday type of feel, there are so many interesting matchups. One I have circled on my calendar is Tennessee-New Orleans. Which matchup coming up are you most interested in seeing?
We're going to stay in the tri-state area for the answer to this question, and we're going to go to the Jets and the Bills. And the reason why, Mike White, he's the newest New York phenom. Jeremy Lin has certainly taken some headlines in the past, but right now it's all Mike White. And if he can really take the starting role from Zach Wilson, that will be a good problem to have for the Jets. And on the other side of the ball, the Bills just lost to the Jaguars. They are going to be angry. Can the Jets contain that anger? We will see on Sunday.
Yeah, that's an intriguing matchup. But I got to go Kansas City versus Vegas. And now Kansas City, like we talked about earlier, they've been struggling. Patrick Mahomes not the best season of his career. And that team is just kind of stuttering. And right now we want to see if they can really keep that momentum from a Packers win that they just had, granted without Aaron Rodgers. But now they're playing a Vegas team that has Derek Carr at the helm. He's been having a good season. Las Vegas has been surprising in a lot of ways. But despite that, they've been facing some adversity lately, losing John Gruden, sadly Henry Ruggs, and now they just cut former first-round cornerback Damon Arnett. So we'll see how Patrick Mahomes can keep up with Vegas and see what kind of division implications and playoff implications it'll have.
Now, last question for you guys, rapid fire here. It's Week 10. Plenty of time has elapsed, but plenty of time has still yet to occur in the season. Which team with a losing record do you think can turn it around and make the playoffs?
This is a tough question because most of the teams with a losing record have them for a reason, because they're bad football teams. But let's go with the Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold struggled. P.J. Walker's coming in. I think he can lead them to some success.
Yeah, my team is Minnesota. Kirk Cousins has been amazing. Minnesota has a few losses, the 3-5, but most of those losses have come in very close games, 2 of them in overtime, a lot of them with 3 or under points. Kirk Cousins has been just stellar. That offense is amazing, and I think they're good candidates.
We're going to take a short break, but be sure to stick around because FaceTimes are coming up.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. We know how that turned out. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens. Fact, more than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping, and 80% say their first e-cigarette was flavored. Vaping is harmful to developing brains. The reason we think vaping is safe? Marketing. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I get it. The Lakers look awful. They have a losing record this season when they're up by 20-plus points. LeBron and Anthony Davis are day-to-day, every day. The bench is certainly streaky. And, of course, there's Russell Westbrook. He's shooting a gross 42% from the floor and an even more disgusting 29% from 3 on 4 attempts per game. He's also averaging 5 turnovers a night, which is only the second worst mark of his career. This team looks like an old station wagon, while the Golden State Warriors, who are still without Klay Thompson, look like a brand new Ferrari. That said, am I worried? Of course not. I will never bet against a team with LeBron James on it. To claim that us mere mortals comparing basketball IQ to him is just downright laughable. Not only is it very early in the year, but LeBron knows exactly what he is doing. This man goes to the NBA Finals like it's his birthright. The dice roll that was the Lakers offseason took place in the casino owned by Mr. LeBron James. Look at it this way. Last year at this time, would you have said the Bucks and the Suns were both finals bound? No. Anything can happen. Narratives have yet to be written. If there is one thing that encourages me about the Lakers, it's that they are top 10 in the league in three-point percentage. That's right. The squad everyone said couldn't shoot a lick is actually elite from downtown. This team can connect from deep at a high level. Once their defense catches up and their floor general gels, they'll be in great shape come the playoffs.
College football is a crazy sport, and this week was about as hectic as you can expect. There were teams making their path to the playoffs look more certain, and some struggled and hurt their playoff hopes. Now, teams like Michigan State were coming off of a massive win against rival University of Michigan. They faced off against unranked divisional rival Purdue. Michigan State was stunned as Purdue came out quick and went up 7-0 6 minutes into the game. The Boilermakers continued their pressure as they went on to shock the entire world, beating the previously third-ranked Spartans 40-29. After that, Michigan State falls down to 7th in the rankings. Another team hoping to keep their playoff hopes and undefeated season alive was Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons lost, however, to an unranked North Carolina team 58-55. They fall down to 12, dropping 3 spots due to the loss. On the flip side, some teams helped their playoff chances. Ohio State, a team who lost to third-ranked Oregon, barely scraped by Nebraska 26-17, keeping their playoff hopes alive as they're now ranked 4th. Their rivals, Michigan, also fighting for their playoff lives, and my favorite team, they handled business, beating Indiana 29-7, and they're trying to make a playoff push despite losing to Michigan State last year in a tough battle. Now, Cincinnati, this is a team everyone thinks should be in the playoff race, and everyone thinks is a playoff team. The committee, however, has them outside the top 4, and with the first playoff rankings, the Bearcats are upset. So they took on Tulsa, but they were able to beat them 28-20, so they're looking great. And now their previous rankings of 6th have moved up 1 to 5th. So those are a lot of teams that are fighting for playoff hopes. Some came out unscathed, others drastically hurt their playoff chances. We'll see what happens. College football is a crazy sport.
In my opinion, hockey is the best sport. And this year, my theory has been proven once again. Hockey is back after a long offseason, and the action has been awesome. The Panthers, Hurricanes, and Oilers are dominating. The Sabres are surprisingly okay, and the Rangers are a young team on the rise. But I want to focus on the New York Islanders, because there is certainly a lot to talk about. The Islanders got off to a brutal start. They lost their first 2 games by a combined 7 goals, and it looked like they had some big problems. Zdeno Chara, well, he's certainly big, and at 44 years old, he is old too. Big Z is replacing defenseman Nick Leddy, who was traded to the Red Wings in July, but Chara got off to a rough start and looked putrid in his first 2 games. Netminder Ilya Sorokin also struggled, allowing 11 goals in his first 2 starts. He was sloppy. And with fellow goalie Semyon Varlamov injured to start the year, things looked bad. Not to mention, the offense faced some adversity too. Brock Nelson, who was one of the leaders on the team, was not his usual self. However, since those first 2 losses, the Islanders have thrived. They went on a 7-game point streak and have improved their record to 5-3-2. Chara looks like he can be productive in a limited role. Sorokin has 3 shutouts in his last 5 starts, and Nelson has 5 goals in his last 3 games. On the ice, things are good. And off it, things are good too. UBS Arena, the team's brand new building, will be ready by November 20th. And opening night will certainly be amazing. So, the Islanders are back. They have made their Final Four the last 2 seasons, and it looks like they can do it again. It is Stanley Cup or bust on Long Island, and if you are an Islanders fan, that is a beautiful thing to hear.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have tonight. I want to thank my panelists David Lazar and Andres Santiago, along with Aiden Henry. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Hofstra SB, and tune in on December 1st for our next episode. Until then, I'm Danny DeCrescenzo. Have a great night.